There we go again with those dulcet tones ringing out across the stratosphere and the globe. Welcome, global people. How are you today to another episode of Two Chaps, Many Cultures? Welcome, Mr.
Two plus one, as you will find out in a second. Welcome, everybody, to Two Pale Male Stale, Two Chaps, Many Cultures. And, are we going to add some culture for you today? Because you're tired of looking at these ugly blokes, but we have something that is quite interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. So energy. How's your energy today, my man?
Oh, it's on. I don't know. It's on 11. If you watch the Spinal Tap, I turned it up all the way to 11. There we go.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Turn it up to 11. With or without cowbell, does that make a difference?
We always need more cowbell. That is a given. Absolutely. We always need more cowbell.
Well, today we're talking about energy and how we use energy in leadership, how we portray, how we project energy, how we bring energy to ourselves and to other people. And because we might possess our energy, to learn about this, we're going to bring in a special guest. And of course, let me introduce to you the wonderful, incomparable, who needs no introduction, really, Yuko Deneuville. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa.
Bonjour and konnichiwa and guten Tag. Guten
Tag, yeah.
Guten
G'day,
Tag.
mate. Lovely and all that kind of stuff. How are you today, Yuko?
I'm feeling fantastic, and thank you for having me, Christian and Brett.
You're
fantastic. I love that word. That brings my energy up to 11.5. That is awesome. Fantastic.
That's all you have to hear. Fantastique. I am fantastique. Yeah. C'est formidable. How about that, you know?
Yuko, I didn't ask you this before we went on the program, but on this night that PSG advanced to the next round in the Champions League tournament, I don't know if that matters to you as somebody with your French connection, if that is important that Paris Saint-Germain won the match today. It kind of angered me a little bit. That's okay. But that's, well, it is what it is.
Let's not talk about sports or soccer. I don't want.
Yuko's energy just went, oh.
Why did you talk about that?
What he's talking about.
The reason we have our wonderful Yuko on today is to talk about energy, because Yuko uses energy and the I guess the exploration of energy in terms of her own life and what she's discovered, but also now applying it to coaching work as she works with people and people around the globe that are moving cultures and working with other cultures. So tell us a little bit more about this, how you formalize this. I know you use a tool. I had the good pleasure of doing the assessment and having you debrief it for me. So personally, but just tell us more about that, and perhaps, you know, there are multiple levels, of course, and we probably won't have time to jump into them all, but just the idea, the concept behind it, and how you apply it.
Yes. So thank you for inviting me to talk about this topic I'm so passionate about. It is energy, because we are all human being of energy, and we are also all leaders, right? All leaders, whether we are a coach, a trainer, we are or parents, we are all leaders. And the goal of this tool, the energy, it's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment Tool. It's a behavioral assessment tool. The goal of it is to become a better leader in our life. And so we have 7 levels of energy. So I loved what you said, Christian, earlier, that you're at level 11, because it's even above what exists actually in this
He's
chart.
making up his own levels. He just like, you know, he's skipping 8, 9, 10. He's just going to his
making it up.
Yeah, but I love that. It was so funny. So yeah, we all have 7 different levels of energy, and this concept called the core energy concept has been developed by Bruce Schneider, who is the founder of IPEC, which is a school I've been through, the coaching program I've been through. And basically, just to make it simple, since it's such a complex topic, we all have what we call anabolic and catabolic energy. And there is no good and bad energy. But for example, I can ask you, Brett and Christian, to try an exercise. But while we speak, if we jab our ribs hard with our fingers, like let's have a conversation, let's just jab yourself. So how are you, Christian? You're good?
I'm still at 11. I'm almost breaking the barrier of 11. And cleaning my wrist makes me feel somewhat cleaner.
Yeah. That's just an exercise just to show you can stop, Christian, because it hurts a little bit. But the goal of this exercise is just to show you how catabolic energy can have an impact. So catabolic energy usually is the energy that is more draining, that releases chemicals such as adrenaline or cortisol. So that's the effect of the fingers on your ribs. Even if we want to speak or take any action, as long as we have these fingers in the rib, it's hard to focus, right, on what we want to say or what we want to do. So that's the catabolic energy on one hand. And on the other hand, we have what we call the anabolic energy. So it's more the energy that is uplifting, that's more the testosterone. So if I give you an example, for example, when you go to the gym, you have a lot of adrenaline, right? You go to the gym, you work on your muscle, you work on your, you work hard, you sweat. So that's more the catabolic energy, which is not good or bad, right? In this situation. And then you need some time after the gym to relax and stretch your muscle and go back to this and take care of yourself. So that's the anabolic energy. So we all need both catabolic and anabolic energy. And what I love about this work is that, and in our cross-cultural field is so connected, because whenever we move to a new country or we communicate with someone from a different cultural background, or let's say suddenly you have a manager who is from a different background and culture, and so it's stressful for you because it's something new, you go automatically and unconsciously to the catabolic energy. And so there are two levels in the catabolic energy. The level 1, which is the victim mode, and where you think that, oh, what is happening to me? I don't have any control of the situation, I'm losing. Or you have the level 2 energy, which is more towards angry and blame. You blame others. So it can happen when we are in judgment, right? When we judge someone from a different culture, or we are in level 2 energy. And with actuality, right, we can see so much of level 2 energy right now in our context, no? With the racism that happens. The COVID-19, we blame the government, we blame everything that's around us. So that's catabolic energy that is affecting us. And so the goal of the core energy coaching is how can we switch into that consciously to more anabolic energy, like such as level 3 to level 7. Level 3 is more the energy where you think, okay, it is what it is. Now I have to take responsibility for the situation, for my thought, for my emotions. I don't know if you want me to show you maybe the energetic self-perception chart, just to have an idea, since it's so complex, or you want me just to take you through verbally. I have a screen, maybe that will
let's bring it up. Let's bring it up.
Be able to
because
do
I think that this would be, I think that this could solve a lot of problems, not only individual personal problems, but as you mentioned, Yuko, societal issues, when a whole group of people, when an entire culture feels that they are either a victim of circumstance or that they have a scapegoat they can blame their circumstances on. They don't take responsibility for their energy. They don't take ownership, right? And this is something that we encounter quite often in our work. So I'm curious, what types of tips and tricks do you have up your sleeve to help people get a better grip on their energy?
Yes, that's a very good question. And I don't know if you see my screen while I'm speaking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah?
we can see
Okay,
the screen. Yes.
so that will help to answer the question, Christian. So this is the energetic self-perception chart, where we have the 7 levels of energy. So it starts from the center to the outside, level 7. And basically we can see that each levels of energy is has a core thought. You read it from the left, core thought, core emotion in the middle, and core action or core result on the right hand. So how you switch your energy, to answer your question, Christian, is to basically understand what is the core thought that you're having that is impacting your energy. So for example, I give you a perfect example. Like, for example, let's say, I don't know, give me an example. It will be more frank. Give me an example of a situation where I could have different reactions.
A resourceful, a situation where I was in a resourceful state of mind, or where I was, I don't know, frustrated or unsatisfied. What example would you like?
Maybe give me an example where you were unsatisfied, so we can see how to switch that around.
Okay, I'm easily unsatisfied when I notice that my resources are stretched to the limit. For instance, I'm trying to do, like this morning, I was trying to do a webinar, and I had to move myself into a corner of the house where I did not disturb anyone else, because we had recordings going on today. And I also was responsible for taking care of our dog, who wanted my attention while I was trying to stay focused on the webinar. And that was not the right energy for me to be in. I noticed this is, I'm being pulled into many directions, and I felt yucky about it.
Right. So it sounds like, yeah, you were like in a, so the core thought that you had at this time was that you had so much going on, and you felt like,
the thought was probably, I can't stay focused. I think that was the thought.
The core, so I can stay focused was the core. So the result of it, the core emotion, was that you felt. How did you feel around that?
I felt I'm not serving everybody that I was supposed to serve. And so I felt, what's the word for that? Someone help me out here, Brett. What did I feel like? I felt a bit frustrated, maybe. Yeah, let's say frustration.
Frustrated, yeah. Okay.
I mean, would have been not. I mean, you're obviously, as somebody who serves clients quite well, if you feel like you're in that mode, then you're not serving the client to the level that you, the normal standard that you set for yourself.
That was the fear. Yes, that was some sort of fear that I might not be serving them well. Now, I had I checked in with my audience, and I think everything went well. But in that very moment, I felt that frustration of, I'm not performing at my peak level.
Right. Yes, and it
sunshine looked wonderful.
So so that's a perfect example, Christian, where you were in what we call catabolic energy. So maybe like in level 1 and 2, a bit of victim mode. That's the word we use for level 1, when we think that we could do better, but we don't have the ability to do so. And also the frustration that came, which is more level 2, it's more the conflict energy. So the important thing is to think, so which energy I want to be, like when we are aware of that. And so there are some different levels. And for example, I give you an example. Level 5 energy, we can see here, it's the reconciliation energy. So it's when you see opportunities in challenges. So it could be in this situation you gave, Christian, it could be to think, right now I'm having a hard time, but what is the opportunity right now for me? Maybe it would be to try to focus in an environment that is challenging or things like that. But it's basically when you accept the situation and you move yourself to a more...
And I think that's exactly what helped me through that situation, because I recognized no matter what's within my resources that I have available right now in that moment would change the situation. I accepted the fact that this is what it's going to be for the next 35 minutes, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I didn't feel like a victim. I felt a little bit frustrated, and I caught myself subconsciously that, okay, I could feel victimized by this circumstance, or I could simply deal with it as is. And I reminded myself basically to be comfortable with the fact that, okay, this is not going to be as quote unquote perfect as I want it to be, and it's still going to be all right. As we said on our episode yesterday, Brett and I just shipped the work. So I shipped the work, okay, and it wasn't necessarily at 99.8%. It was probably at 96.3%, and it was still pretty dang good. And so I think subconsciously, without having looked at or without being too familiar with your ELI work, I think I was able to shift my energy towards a state of mind that served me in that situation.
Yeah.
Could I have done better than that? Pretty much.
I think what I find, and as I work more with Christian and have worked with him in the past, is that's kind of, I mean, take it the next step, Yuko, then how do you demonstrate that as a global leader in a foreign setting? How do you demonstrate that for the people that work for you or with you and around you? And I would just take that skill of Christian to be able to, it's why I love working with Christian, because obviously there are times and frustrations. I mean, there were a number of frustrations yesterday that I knew that he was experiencing, but then again, the energy, there was never a sense where I felt he was a victim. He was going into mode, this is take action. It's frustrating, yes, but that's a skill. And obviously, as Christian says, he doesn't know the work that you do with this ELI, and I don't really know it that well, except I've gone through the process. But I find myself changing conversations when I talk to people who are expressing perhaps that catabolic energy, and I try and talk them through it. So as a leader, do you train people how to do that in terms of your work, and then to influence the people around them so that people kind of get back into that anabolic, the calming state and that kind of thing? Is that a fair comment?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the first step is really to be aware of which energy I tend to be in automatically. So, for example, Christian would be level 5. Automatically, you're more into this state of mind. Okay, when I have a challenge, I see the glass half full instead of seeing half empty. So the first step is to see where we are at, and then to see how we can switch our energy to be able to influence better others, right? Because a leader, we want to influence our team members, we want to influence our coworkers, but also our family, right? And we want to also inspire. It's not only influence, but it's inspire others. I would say the right word is we want to inspire others, and we want to inspire ourselves first. And because energy attracts like energy, it's so important to be in an anabolic state, to be able to mirror that energy so that other people also are in these anabolic states. And the other thing is, as a leader, we want to make sure when we have in front of us someone who constantly is in level 2, for example, constantly is in anger mode, or constantly is complaining or blaming others, we want to know how to approach these people, because depending on their energy, you cannot communicate and behave the same way. And I think that's a work you are really aware of that too, is the communication, non-violent communication and cross-cultural work that you do.
Well, I think that your particular, adding to what you're doing already, is perhaps bringing your insight, because I left the hint in the notes that I wrote, but it is basically that you come from two cultures as well, right? And two very different cultures. And just explain obviously just quickly your background. What are those cultures that influence that are a part of you?
Yes, so I would say, so I'm half French and half Japanese, or we can say double. That's more optimistic to say I'm double instead of I'm half. So I'm double, and so I would say both culture influence me a lot. Both culture influence me. I'm very French sometimes and very Japanese sometimes. And I like your question, Brett, because as the culture is like energy can be generalized. Like there are some cultures, I would say, if we had to generalize, like cultural dimensions, it's also based on generalization. Energy also can be generalized. So I would say, for example, for me, American culture, from a French and Japanese perspective, they are more in like level 5 energy, which is opportunity. I can do anything. I am the strongest. I can do it. Even if I'm challenged, I will stand on my feet. So it's like level 5 energy, right?
Everything is awesome.
Everything is wonderful. So that's level 6 energy, actually. Level 6 energy is more like, I'm happy all the time and I don't show my weakness, right? But so if I have to generalize, but maybe French culture from some people we could see as, okay, maybe why they're doing strikes and going in the street is more level 2 energy. So that's funny how energy can be applied also into culture, our cultural work as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I found that interesting in terms of going through it myself, what part of my Australianness was brought to my perception and the way that I see energy, the way I display energy, and how I've done that in the past as a leader with different cultures. It was fascinating. So, yeah,
I find how and now that we're talking about it, I find it fascinating how my energy level can be affected within seconds. And Yuko, you said that sometimes your Germanness, your Frenchness comes out stronger, and sometimes your Japanese side. The Aussie in you, Brett, comes up, flares up once in a while, even after all these years abroad. Excuse me. I get this quite a bit, that energy shift, when I get on Skype, which tells you that this is the recipient of that conversation is of an advanced age, because they're not Zooming or they're not FaceTiming, they're still Skyping. It's almost like I have an AOL or a Hotmail email account. So this is my parents, right? So whenever my parents call me, and specifically my dad, he knows how to operate Skype, and he's in his mid-late 70s, and it's his tonality, his energy, that sometimes he calls me because I didn't call him first. So there's this expectation of him that I, the son who lives abroad, should be dialing him up frequently. And as we teach our clients in communication classes, the expectations are premeditated resentments, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you hold on to your expectations. So my dad has this expectation of his oldest son should be calling him, God damn it, call me, son. So I did not do this past week, and so he calls me up yesterday, and I was unable to answer the phone because I had multiple things lined up. And when I finally called him back today in the morning, because he's 6 hours ahead, he's in Europe, the first comments out of his mouth were, well, took you a while to get back at me, or what's it take to get you on the phone, or apparently you don't listen to your answering machine, do you? So judgment. I don't want to say victim, but it was this accusation, and which I usually look forward to having a conversation with my family. And when the conversation begins like that, this is his default mode. And I know him long enough. I know him all my life. Ooh, go figure.
Surprise.
And it still, I recognize how it affects my energy. As much as I want to be in my positive level, or in the resourceful energy level, it immediately affects me. Like, because I recognize, oh, dang it, in order to build rapport with my dad, I need to get into the dirt with him. I need to get at this energy level before I can lead him out of that energy level, if possible at all. And it's not usually something that I enjoy doing. I'd rather begin the conversation at my energy level. So I think that is a challenge that many of us face, that when we're dealing with people at a different energy level, how do we elegantly bring them to our level without alienating them or without breaking rapport to begin with? Is there a good trick you have for us, Yuko?
So yes, it's as you say, it's very challenging to bring the other person who is in level 2 to your level 6 or level 5 energy immediately. So you need to join the person at its level. It doesn't mean that you have to be it doesn't mean you have to be in anger mode too, because otherwise anger plus anger becomes fight, right? So it doesn't go anywhere. But that's the unconscious tendency that we have. When we have someone aggressing us, we want to aggress back. That's an unconscious automatic response. But how to join the person at its level is to first to acknowledge to acknowledge the person and acknowledge, okay, I understand that you're angry right now, and it's just join the person there and slowly take the person to gradually to level 3, which is it is what it is, right? To let the other person understand that that's how it is, that's happened, and then you want to take the person gradually to level 4, which is compassion. So you want the other person to have compassion towards yourself also, and let the other person know that you're doing your best also as a son, but sometimes you also have challenge and you cannot cause your dad right away. So you want to bring slowly. Usually it's a step-by-step process, like a stairs. You want the other person to climb the stairs of the energy to join you.
I'm gonna check in a few years with Christian with his daughters and see how they're treating him, and you know what they're going to be saying to us. Our kids are going to be going, "Oh, Dad, you're using Zoom still?"
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
You don't have a hologram phone that can beam me into my. I want to dig into your doubleness a little bit, Yuko, because many of our audience probably are familiar with you because they met you at some conference or they've maybe done some work with you, but not everybody is intimately familiar with the lovely Yuko. So Yuko appears to be the Japanese first name. Deneuville appears to be a French last name. So how would you say when you grew up, did you grow up in France or in Japan, or did you grow up in both countries intermittently? Where did you spend your formative years, so to say?
So yeah, I grew up in both countries. So I was born in France, and at 6 years old moved to Japan with my parents, my sister, and I stayed there during 9 years. So I spent my childhood and teenager years in Japan, and then came back to France at 15.
Okay.
So yeah, so I have both culture, I would say, both way of thinking, definitely.
And have you learned as an adult, or maybe even sooner than that, when to dial up the French side and when to dial up the Japanese side, so it is helpful for you in that situation, so you can get to the right energy that you need to be in? When did that happen? When did you become aware that you can shift between the two sides?
Yes, that's a good question. So it started pretty early, I would say, because when I lived in Japan, each year I would come back to France during summer. And at that time, I realized how it was different, the way of communicating. And for me, I would say at this time, I was in maybe catabolic energy. I was judging French. Even though I'm French, I was judging French. Why they are so direct? Why they are so aggressive? Why they are not polite, in the stores? Why they don't say 𝙈𝙤𝙣 when you come in the store? People are not here to greet you. So I was judgmental, I believe. And then slowly I started to appreciate, I would say, both cultures, and because I realized each culture has its own advantages, disadvantages, and so, but it was still challenging. I mean, when I came back at 15 years old in France, I was constantly switching between the French and Japanese way, and yeah, it's a strange feeling. You feel like you don't belong anywhere. You don't belong anywhere. You are like an alien. But
well, of course, sorry, I wanted to bring this up. Adding to all of this wonderful identity is the fact that you have a beautiful family with 2 wonderful children, and you are married to somebody from where?
From Vietnam.
Vietnam, right?
So he was born and raised in France, so he's more French, but at the same time he has the Vietnamese culture, because in Vietnam it's very important. Even if you live in France or the US, you still have the Vietnamese culture is very important. So he has both cultures. But it's funny. For example, I give you an example. When he met with me, he thought I was a typical Japanese, and I would cook Japanese meals, and I would be very very I don't know. It was a cliche, I know, a stereotype. And when I told him, actually, I don't like cooking, it was like a disappointment to him. And
does he cook? Does your husband cook?
Yeah, he cooks Vietnamese food, so I'm very lucky.
So best pho in Southwest Florida at your house then, I guess.
Yes,
and
yes.
The best banh mi sandwiches at your house.
Yeah, let's do a party here.
All right. I'm on my way. The car's already running.
We're on board. We're on board.
Okay.
Well, that's wonderful.
So now you live in Florida, and do you feel like you belong there, or is that feeling back of not knowing whether you're part of the community or not?
So yes, I would say with the years now I learn how to adapt and adjust. So I have a community here. I have a sense of belonging. I have my own community. I do some theater, so I have friends thanks to the theater. I have friends from Toastmaster. I know you're very aware, Christian, so I'm doing Toastmaster too. So I have different communities, and it helps definitely to have a sense of belonging. And regarding the culture, now with the years, it's not a problem anymore. I feel like, okay, now I'm Yuko Deneuville, and even Nguyen, Yuko and Deneuville Nguyen, and that's who I am. So
deal with it. Excellent.
Yeah, deal with it. Now I'm, I think that's also why I do coaching too, is because I want people to feel confident, self-confidence, and be aware of their self-worth, self-uniqueness. And so I think now I really walk the talk, because I accept who I am with my uniqueness, even if my English is not perfect, and even if it's
none of our English is perfect. Not even this guy. This guy.
No, my English is a variation of such. That's right.
So the website that Brett showed us earlier, I think it's this one, right? This is where we would go, or did I spell this right? Is this the correct website, or do we need to make corrections?
Yes, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's my website, and if you
want, go there. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to discover about your energy and take the ELI assessments, you can also contact me by email or on my website to dive more into your energy levels and your self-awareness.
Absolutely. Personally, it comes to mind every time I react to something, or I see other people reacting it. And I use it with my family. I use it, so it's something that stays with you. I found it is. I only did it a short time ago, but it's I guess it's fresh, but it's something that stays with you. And I kind of find myself just taking that extra step back. We often talk about, when you're crossing cultures, is to just take that extra step, take that pause, take that time to think, and have a look at what you're observing, but not only externally but internally. Yeah. About how you're reacting to things. So he's been very helpful in that term. So I recommend it for what it's worth. It is.
Thank you
for sharing that with us.
Again, Yuko, and this has been wonderful. Thank you for giving us your insights. And again, reach out to Yuko. And of course, for us two gentlemen, we encourage you to share this out and place your comments and questions for Yuko. And please come and subscribe to our YouTube. We're begging you. We are just shameless.
On our knees.
Shamelessly begging. Don't pay attention to us. We're moving. No, that's not
I'm going to practice my very, very imperfect language skills. So in order to say thank you, I would say merci beaucoup, and I would say domo arigato.
Yes, perfect.
All right.
Wow. Good job.
Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank. Merci. Thank you so much to you, Brett and Christian.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Au revoir, à bientôt.
À bientôt. Sayonara.